Welcome back to the Unscripted American, where we've been missing you guys. The past few weeks have been a bit crazy for me. My dog had like surgery, so I was like taking care of a fucking child for like the past few weeks. So we weren't able to get out here and be on the show like we really wanted to be.
What kind of surgery was it again?
Oh, he had to have his nuts clipped because he's fucking pissing blood, and he's a giant baby. He's right over here.
Gunny had his gun unloaded.
Yeah, he did. Poor guy. I felt bad, but
it
is what it is.
We'll thank him for his service later.
Yeah, but we're gonna finish this damn town hall if it's the last thing we fucking do.
Yeah, get this off our plate. I mean, it's.
So anyway, where we left off was we were talking about Biden's town hall and kind of going over some of the, if there are pros, lots of cons. Government always seems to think that taking our money and utilizing it in ridiculous ways is the way to do business. They wait till the infrastructure has completely crumbled before they, try to fix it instead of just maintaining it. Yeah. Honestly, I believe the states, it's almost time for the states to just say, hey, we're not playing this game. We're going to keep our federal money and we're going to just utilize it in our communities the way we see fit.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of government spending, if you haven't figured that out by now. But the one thing that is interesting is, like you mentioned, that they're just not maintaining. At some point in this town hall earlier on, he goes into how he made very little, because he did. I mean, Congress and the House members in the Senate didn't make a ton of money a few decades ago. They were in that $40,000 range.
That was a lot of money in 1970.
Sure,
he was in.
Sure, but their salaries kept getting bigger, and they keep growing these departments and in bureaucracies that are sucking up more money. What if they just got rid of most of the bureaucracy and saved some money for that infrastructure when it was time to rebuild? I mean, not that I say that we should keep taxing and all that, but a lot of people don't realize the Tea Party movement of a little over 10 years ago was not so much about being anti-tax or anti-government, but instead of adding more taxes, how about use the tax money you have wisely first and then see where you're at. But they don't do that. The government just keeps growing and spending.
Well, they got to have some way to launder money,
Yeah, that's really what it is.
Really, in the end, it's about, they even proved it. Like at some points they had they were showing what they were spending it on, and there was like large amounts that were like, okay, you're not even using the $1 trillion that we've allocated towards this. Mm-hmm. It's like, where is that money going?
Yeah.
Of course, we'll find out because you got to pass it to know what's in it. That's the government way.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then so we'll get into this, but man, it's really tough keeping up with things that are developing. So hopefully we can just knock this out, get it done, so that we don't have to revisit it another time, because we have Kyle Rittenhouse that's going on. I haven't had time. I've been busy today. But I'm hearing Russians are acting kind of funny right now, and there are some in Congress calling to deploy troops because Russia's starting to do something. There's something sneaky going on around Ukraine right now, and I'm not up to speed on it myself. I just know that we're living in a very, very, very dynamic world where there's just so much happening all at once that you really can't keep up with it.
Right. Well, they actually Chinese, I guess, fighters were targeting some of our aircraft carriers and things like that this past week, and I'm like, how far does aggression need to go? I don't know what the strategy is behind that. I mean, because that war with China would be, superpowers in today's world is really not a war that I think we need to be in. But we also got to have like a line like, look, you're not going to target our vessels while they're out at sea.
Man, and then this was what, a week or week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, when they tested the hypersonic missile that went around the Earth. It was off by like 24 miles, something like that. Or maybe they said kilometers. I don't know the metric system though, but it wasn't quite accurate. But this freaking missile went around the Earth and then was, I mean, fairly accurate considering it went all the way around the Earth before it hit its target. But yeah, that's huge. That's a capability that once they actually, well, first of all, if there's a nuclear warhead, it doesn't have to be accurate because there's a pretty big margin of error there. It's
like a hand grenade. I don't have to hit you with it. It's got to get somewhere near you.
Yeah. So,
but we should probably jump into this.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll pull up the stupid notes I had last time and see if I can have.
We'll just kind of play it like we did last time, and then we'll jump in and out of it.
Mr. President, you got it right. The existential threat to humanity is climate change. And when President Trump pulled out of the Paris Accord, which when I was with the Obama administration, we helped negotiate, the agreement was that we could not, if we reached beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature, we're gone. Not a joke.
Yeah, we're
not
dead.
A joke. And so we decided that he pulled out. First thing I committed to do is rejoin that accord, number one.
So anyway, what he's talking about, the Paris Agreement, largely in America, our emissions go down every year. We've learned to make our vehicles a hell of a lot better for the environment. It's China that produces what I would say a large amount of the world's pollution.
India's also up there too.
Their air quality is terrible.
Yep.
These people are just, they want to punish us, take our money to fund something that China's not even going to abide by. Because in the end, China only cares about making money, natural resources, and, keeping the rest of the world kind of dependent upon them. They don't care about polluting the earth. I mean, you can watch videos and documentaries on China all damn day long of floating fish farms. I mean,
oh yeah,
you name it. All day long. So the idea that we have to get back in this agreement and we should be punished for being, the world leader on actual carbon emissions, like driving hours down.
Yeah.
They punish us for the rest of the world's, I don't know, the proper, lack of caring about, climate.
Yeah. This is like, you either agree with them or you're anti-environment. And well, I would submit you can be anti-communist and pro-environment at the same time. And the reality is their solutions are disproportionately affecting us. And what it looks like to me, and what this whole supply chain thing seems to be, leads me to believe at least, that they're intentionally lowering our standard of living to match the rest of the world. And this isn't so much about the environment. At least that's what it appears like. But when you got an administration that is got the Treasury nominee for comptroller is tends to lean towards the communist side, and this is currently being debated right now, and they're vetting this particular person right now. It's hard for me to really.
I did see her on the news this morning.
Or how you pronounce it? I'd have to
yes, she basically said that we should punish and collapse businesses that deal with oil in America.
Yep.
But on the flip side of that, they're pushing OPEC to have production ramped up in America due to our, gas prices being through the roof. I mean, I've seen
that's what they're saying. Yeah.
People have sent pictures and things to me in California where they're paying like $5.85 a gallon. I mean, that's wow. I mean,
so
we're paying damn near $3. I mean, I paid $3.33 the other day.
Yeah, so not that Iraq was a great thing that we got ourselves involved in, but most people don't remember the permanent members of the Security Council that were against the Iraq War, China and Russia, and France.
Mm-hmm.
And then a non-permanent member of the Security Council who has a lot of clout is Germany. And at the time, those countries didn't want to ratify our invasion of Iraq. Again, it's not to say Iraq was right, but you start looking behind the scenes, and all of those countries had under-the-table oil agreements with Iraq. Germany is interesting to me because at the time Gerhard Schroeder was the chancellor of Germany, and Merkel is his successor, and nobody remembers this guy, but this dude is working for a subsidiary, or was working. He was an executive for a subsidiary of Gazprom. Gazprom being the Russian energy company, and you start looking into the geopolitics around the world, and the Ruskies have a lot going on, and we're damaging our ability to be independent. And the Europeans don't. I mean, like a lot of people in Europe. One of my best friends is he's a petroleum engineer and has family in Germany. He goes to Germany all the time. They're completely anti-fracking, and they don't even know what fracking really is. People here don't realize fracking's been around for like 60 years.
Oh, it's been around long.
And I mean, in Oklahoma, everybody complains, or for a while we were complaining about the earthquakes, which there were a lot of earthquakes for a bit. And they don't realize that fracking actually wasn't causing them. It was what we were doing with the wastewater. And it wasn't that you can't dispose of it. It's just that we're disposing it, weren't doing it properly. Now that I don't know if anybody here in Oklahoma remember or has realized those earthquakes have kind of gone down. But anyways, I'm kind of getting on a tangent here. But like there's a lot of money coming out of Russia to push the anti-fracking movement, because fracking threatens the Russian economy, because Russia needs Gazprom is a huge part of the Russian economy. And the Europeans have kind of been a tool of that. I know when I studied abroad in Ukraine, and I went to study Ukraine and Russia, but Ukraine and Russia specifically, this was in 2009. So in 2007, the Russians cut off their pipeline to Europe. So the Ukrainians went without gas for a winter, and it gets pretty cold there, so that their European partners could get their supply, because Ukraine has to retain a good relationship with Europe because they don't want to be totally under the Russian umbrella, which, like I was saying earlier, the Russians are doing something around Ukraine right now that's a developing story. But all that to say, like, destroying the American energy sector is only helping people who don't like America. And
well, it doesn't even make sense, because you haven't even built up the infrastructure for, electric cars. That's the big push.
Yep.
What they don't understand is electricity oftentimes is run by coal and, the oil industry.
Yeah.
They also don't understand is our grid is, I feel like we say this all the time, but our grid isn't up to speed enough to be able to support every American plugging in a electric car at their home.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a huge draw on your energy. Again, I'm
are
always
energy
about
prices going up this winter?
Yeah, they will. I just don't understand why we don't go to hydrogen. I mean, it works like gasoline. It's insane to me.
The French are deepening their commitment to nuclear, or as some people say, nuclear.
Nuclear.
Yeah, nuclear. But yeah, we're anti-nuclear, and not to say we need to go nuke all the way, but we got to start. We got to have a transitional strategy versus let's just end oil, impoverish everyone, and then we're just floundering and trying to figure it out from there, because that's not going to work. We can't.
Well, oil's never going to go away. No. Your cars, I mean, plastics.
Yeah, everything we have on us has some sort of petroleum product.
People are just ignorant to the facts. They just listen to these buzzwords.
Petroleum jelly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's literally what it is. All right, let's fire.
All right,
back up
yeah,
into
this is going to go on for 17 hours.
All right.
Oh, there's the finger.
Number two, what you have to do is you look at there's multiple ways in which we can deal with climate. I'm going off to COP26 in Scotland, and in, I don't know, I guess it's 2 weeks or a week. I forgot, I'm losing track of time. And I'm presenting a commitment to the world that we will, in fact, get to net zero emissions on electric power by 2035 and net zero emissions across the board by 2050 or before. But we have to do so much between now and 2030 to demonstrate what we're going to do. So let me give you a couple examples.
Okay, let me just follow up though very quickly on that, because the key climate provision that was in the Build Back Better plan, as you call it, the Clean Electricity Performance Program, that's been dropped now from this spending bill.
No, it hasn't.
It has not.
No,
But Senator Manchin is opposed to that.
He's opposed to it. But here's the deal. That is only one of well over $1 trillion worth of expenditures for climate change. It's $150 billion. It's important. And what it says is that if, in fact, the utility doesn't pull back and continue to reduce the amount of carbon that they emit, that what will happen is they will end up paying a penalty. And so there's a penalty incurred. Joe Manchin's argument is, look, we still have coal in my state. You're going to eliminate it eventually. We know it's going away. We know it's going to be gone, but don't rush it so fast that my people don't have anything to do. I think that's not what we should be doing. But the fact of the matter is, we can take that $150 billion, add it to the $320 billion that's in the law now that he's prepared to support for tax incentives to have people act in a way that they're going to be able to do the things that need to be done. For example, if you got windows that are the wind's blowing through, you get an incentive to put new windows in your home. You help get it paid. We're going to significantly reduce the cost of solar panels on your roof. We're going to continually, and for example, there's new battery technologies that are being I went out in Silicon Valley. There's a battery that's about that wide and about that thick. If you have solar power, you put that in your basement and the sun doesn't shine for 7 days, you still have all the power.
All the power.
That doesn't even make sense.
I will say solar is becoming a more viable option. But
you have to have the space for it. Mm-hmm. You're not going to put one panel on your damn roof and all of a sudden you're energy efficient. No. They take a large footprint.
Yeah.
And I'm not against solar at all. I think it's a viable, energy source, but I'm not so ignorant. We've literally had them come out, when they were doing the free inspection for solar or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, you got to have the space on a roof. So some houses don't have that space. Some neighborhoods, due to neighborhood associations, won't allow those things on homes in those areas.
Yeah, historic neighborhoods.
And you have to be where the sun is, moving. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of factors to it. I mean, yes, you can. There are some cool battery storage things, but imagine like Great Britain or something where a large part of the year it's just cloudy. In Oklahoma, I mean, when the winter gets cold, mm-hmm. you don't see a lot of sunlight.
No.
So I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not a good idea. It is, but it's like something that will have to work with something else to be efficient.
Yeah, there needs to be a transitional strategy, like I said. I mean, that's really it. I know, was it Tesla tried to get free wireless energy back, 100 years ago, and nobody would fund him because it wasn't going to make any money. So I don't know. This is, to me, it's more for them. It's more about destroying one part of the economy, lowering standards of living
mm-hmm.
to match closer to the rest of the world. And if resources were constrained and there was really drastic measures that need to be taken, then just admit it. Don't try to do this backdoor sneaky thing that they're doing. And then the Paris Agreement, like the only resistance people had to the Paris Agreement was that everybody was going to be treated differently.
Well, the idea is to throw so much stuff at the wall that it's hard to kind of track what's going on.
Yeah.
Instead of like, hey, we're going to be trying to move towards, electricity or electric cars or whatever. I think electric cars aren't necessarily a bad idea in your metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
You could, keep pollution down that way. But as far as like, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work with like, your supply chain.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we'll see, but I think it's a big pipe dream. And he's talking about 2035 and 2050. I mean, gosh, you're talking 30 years from now.
Yeah.
I mean, he won't even be alive when and if that happens.
Yeah.
So
we'll be celebrating if he can make it to the next election.
Yeah. I don't think that's
this dude's about to
in
fall
his
asleep on
cards.
us.
Or you need, but the concession has been agreed to for Senator Manchin.
No. Nothing's been formally agreed to. The concession has been, the negotiation is, I've been saying to Joe, look, I'll take, if we don't do it in terms of the electric grid piece, what we'll do is give me that $150 billion. I'm going to add it to be able to do other things that allow me to do things that don't directly affect the electric grid in the way that there's a penalty, but allow me to spend the money to set new technologies in place. For example, we can save significant amounts of money and, as a consequence of that, significant amounts of energy if, in fact, we are able to put the high-tension wires underground. It costs a hell of a lot more to do it. It creates real good jobs. It creates a hell of a lot more to do it. But, in fact, it would do a lot to keep things from happening that are dangerous. Half the forest fires out west are those towers coming down, setting fire, et cetera. So there's a lot of things. Joe is open to my convincing him that I can use it to increase environmental progress without it being that particular deal.
We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we got a lot more questions for President Biden.
I've heard on the news that these towers are just falling down because of forest fires. I feel like that's a lie. I'm going to have to look through that. I watch the news every day and read a lot of news, and that's not saying it's never happened, but
So
it seems a bit
for our next question, I want to just bring up the current labor market shortages. Millions of jobs are unfilled. Businesses are struggling to meet demand. Is there anything you can do to either encourage people to go back to work or make jobs more attractive that they want to go back to work?
Yeah, so
role for the federal
first of all, we've created more jobs in the first 8 months of my administration than any president in American history.
that's not
Total
what it
number
is.
of jobs.
Said, how are we going to get
But the problem for the
Did he say
people
more
not going
jobs?
back to work is twofold.
Under him?
Number one,
Oh,
they're reluctant to go back to work because they're afraid of COVID. Many. So they don't want to go back and they don't want to be exposed to either the customers because they're not required to wear masks, they're not
so
required.
Democrats want to shut the economy.
Or they don't want to go back
because
because they're not sure if people waiting in the table or people come to the food market. So a lot of it has to do with COVID. Number one. Number two, that's why we were able to go from first got elected.
Yeah. You can pull up these statistics. So there's some statistics that they're always talking about. We created all these jobs and unemployment's way down from what was it, 8 or 9% or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it got down to 5 or 4.
Yeah.
It was like 3 point something under Trump.
Yep.
And I'm not a Trump lover by any stretch of the imagination, but it's growth. You go 10 to 4. What was it? Let's just say 3.8 or whatever. It was in the threes.
I'm going to see if I can find
That's
it.
not what you call growth. That's called getting back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Growth would be unemployment's at 2.8. It has to be below the number that it was at. It's just mind-boggling that people are like, we create, and he may be creating record amount of jobs, but you're not creating record amount of people going and getting these damn jobs.
Well, too, and this is an important point. Joe Biden, Donald Trump, whoever, they don't create jobs. All they do is enact policies that help foster an environment for job creation, or not. But they're not actually creating anything. They're either getting in the way or getting out of the way of job creation.
Why do you have those statistics pulled up?
No, I'm just reading an interesting, or I'm just trying to find something. Oh my God. Millions of jobs were lost during Donald Trump's presidency. Yeah, because of COVID.
Yeah, COVID. I mean,
jackwagons.
That's how they spin narratives. It's like, obviously, when everybody's at freaking home due to, and there was, legit concern when it first happened. Everybody's like, oh shit, we're about to have some contagion thing happen, and there's gonna be bodies piled up out in the streets. Well, that didn't happen, but of course that's going to inflate those numbers.
Yeah, look at this. I'm just reading the headline here. Trump to leave office with the worst jobs record since Herbert Hoover. Again,
it's an inflated number.
It's not like, okay,
that's not true. I mean, it's not wrong, but it's definitely not true.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, that did happen, but that's
because
you're not telling the whole story.
Yeah, because of a pandemic and because of economic, state and local economic policies where the local and state governments were telling people they can't go to work. What that's not just the normal economic conditions here.
Let's get back to Mr. Awesome.
First was elected, only 2 million people had COVID shots in the United States of America, the vaccine. Now we got 190 million. Because I went out and bought everything I could do and buy in sight, and it worked. But here's the deal. The second thing that's happened, Anderson, is that people are now using this as an opportunity to say, wait a minute, do I want to go back to that $7 an hour job? I won't name the particular restaurant chain, but they found out when they couldn't hire anybody, when they found out they started to pay $20 an hour, everybody wanted to go back to work. Not a joke. So what you see is wages are actually up for those who are working, because for the first time in a long time, employees are able to bargain. You're the boss. You want me to work for you? What are you going to pay me? How are you going to do it? I'm not being facetious. The third thing that's out there is there's a circumstance that exists where people are really worried about what they're going to do. I mean, how can I say this? How many people do you know, and maybe some in this audience, who because of what you've been through, a loss of a husband, wife, brother, mother, father, son, whatever, or you've had something that's really impacted you with COVID, that you really find yourself just down? I mean, just down. And so there's a lot of people who are just down. They're not sure how to get back in the game.
It's because
they're not sure whether they want to get back in the game.
Infiltrated.
Think of this. If you're graduating from Morgan State, okay? Well, guess what? You didn't have those great dances the last 4 years you had before you went out. No, I'm not joking. Graduated from high school. You don't have your prom. You don't have your graduation. You don't have all the things that matter to people that go into things they look forward to. So a lot of it has to do with us getting back on our feet, and getting back on our feet in terms of our attitudes about what the future looks like for us.
What do you say to someone who's down? Because there's a lot of people watching tonight who are.
Well, there are. I tell you what.
I'm down right now.
There's plenty of help.
Through this, but
look, being down, having some problem in terms of needing some advice. If you have a broken spirit, it's no different than a broken arm. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. You should seek the help. There's a lot of people who can help. But I really mean it. I'm not saying that's the whole problem. But I'm saying it is an element in terms of attitude about people, what they want to do. Look, how often I get asked the question, what's Christmas going to be like?
Your party.
How about Thanksgiving? Is it going to be okay? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, will I be able to buy gifts for my kids? there's a lot of anxiety people have.
I want to ask a question along the lines of concern about Christmas and holidays and the supply chain. Anna Hirsch is here, a student at Loyola University who's originally from Connecticut. She's a Democrat. Anna, what's your perspective?
Obviously, she's a Democrat.
Because
they probably
growing up in a small town, I've been surrounded by small business owners, including my mom, who owns her own interior design business. With the current supply chain crisis, small businesses are in jeopardy of not being able to get products that they need because priority is given to large businesses. Does your administration have any policies or plans in place to aid the current supply chain problem and or to help small businesses that are affected by this?
Yes, on both. But you have it exactly right. We have a significant supply chain problem. In the Obama-Biden administration, all American business, it made sense. It was just on time. You wanted to make sure that you didn't waste any money and or time between producing whatever you're producing and having it done. You didn't. So that's how you save money. You didn't buy the material 6 months ahead of time and then keep it in your inventory and then move. It was on time. Now that's a big problem. People can't do it. They want to get out ahead.
Sense.
What I've recently done, and people said, we doubted we could get it done. I was able to go to the private ports with 40% of all products coming into the United States of America on the West Coast go through Los Angeles and what am I doing here?
What am I doing
Long Beach,
here?
thank you. And I know both the mayors. So I went to them and I said,
Oh my God, did you just hear him say that? He just said 40% of all products go through. What am I doing here? He doesn't even know what the hell he's doing. I mean,
at this point, it's pathetic.
He's like, you need to buy. So are you telling them to be preppers? Like, you need to buy more so you can have it on your shelf when we do these things, so you can actually have a business that's worth, having a business. What am I doing? I mean, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, what she wants is a solution. She's obviously, her question was, why are big box, let's say big Walmart business, getting the supply versus small business? Is basically what she asked. And you're like, you start making up all this nonsense. It makes literally no sense. It's like, because they're corporate America.
Yeah.
And the idea that people believe that the Democrats or Republicans aren't in bed with corporate America is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Who do you think has the money to lobby these people?
Yep.
Walmart spent $175 million on Congress and senators lobbying to them. Why do you think they did that? When 70% of their workforce is subsidized by taxpayers due to food stamps or welfare or some kind of government assistance. Now, on top of that, they were bragging about a $7 billion profit margin that they made last year. Yet, 70% of your employees can't live on a wage that you provide. You're telling me you can't take, it probably wouldn't even take $1 billion, probably a few $100 million, and pay for these people's child care, give them freaking good insurance, pay them better so they can survive. You're telling me that's not something you could accomplish with $7 billion? I mean, I'm pretty sure I could do it with $1 billion. Easy. And then you would still be like, well, we're still seeing record highs with our $6 billion. I mean, how many billions do you need to be successful? Yeah. I mean, I for the life of me can't understand how a organization like that brags about that as I mean, it works out great for them.
Yep.
Taxpayers subsidize their workforce.
Yep.
And then we're like, well, we need these things. Let's steal more money from the taxpayer.
Yep.
Yet everything that Democrats, we're anti-establishment, we're anti-corporation is a crock of shit.
Yeah, they have lied to the voters to make them think that. The reality is now, again, I'm anti-communist, and I think the fascists learned a lot from the communists. But in a lot of ways, our government's closer to fascist than anything. and that's both parties, and that's largely
100%.
that's largely the Democratic Party, because they overtly talk about public-private partnerships with a lot more energy. I mean, hell, getting companies to mandate vaccination, or you lose your job, that sort of stuff. I mean, that gets into creep territory. And Walmart and all the big box stores last year, they didn't get restricted to the degree that small businesses did. So,
well, they didn't get shut down like small business. They're like, you can't operate, but this place that can put 1,000 people inside to shop all at once rates to be open. But yeah, if you're a small hardware store like an Ace or something, that'd be kind of like, I don't know, it's not really a small business, but it's small on the level of like Home Depot, or
it's
I don't even know if there is a comparison to a Walmart. It's privately owned.
No,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Continue on.
Yeah.
What can we do? So I met with, and they're privately owned. These ports. These two. So I met with the business people. I met with all the major customers, the Walmarts of the world, and all the rest. There are like 70 ships waiting out there, unable to get unloaded. So because not always the longshoremen don't always get along with the business folks in there, I have a relationship with them. And I brought them together, and I said, you got to be open 24/7. No port there was open 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, 24/7. They've all agreed to it. They've agreed to it. Would you consider the National Guard to help with the supply chain issue? Absolutely. Positively.
What the
I would do that.
that?
But in addition to that, you got to get these ships in and
I didn't see that
unloaded.
on the commercial.
One of the things in
The
my
supply chain
infrastructure
you have
plan,
no
there's
training in
$16
this.
billion for port expansion.
Just get in the
We have
way.
to be able to
More
move things
government
along.
bureaucracy.
Because what's happening is when a product your mother made for interior design in terms of drapery or colors or something that is imported from somewhere else. Well, guess what? A lot of these places, particularly in South Asia, are closing down because of COVID. So businesses are just flat closing.
So would you consider the National Guard for trucking, because there's a lot of problems with not enough truck drivers right now?
And that's why what we're doing now.
Do you have a timetable for that?
Well, I have a timetable to. First of all, I want to get the ports up and running and get the railroads and the railheads and the trucks in port ready to move.
So I don't understand. So you're going to deploy the National Guard to work the ports when they, let's just say those. It doesn't even matter what job they do.
I'm going to look up something.
They're going to work the ports, and then he says, would you use the National Guard to help the trucking industry? And I'm like, so now they're going to drive tractor trailer? I don't what in the hell does that even mean? I mean,
wait. So this is a voter base. This is a party with a voter base that's like anti-government and with policing and some other things. And you have their leader talk about using the military to get involved in domestic logistics.
Yeah, I mean that
goes back to that statement about fascism. I mean,
that's not what the National Guard is supposed to be used for. National Guard is the intended idea of it is long lost to us, but more or less they work with FEMA when natural disasters happen. They deploy overseas for. I don't know why they call that National Guard when they deploy them to a foreign country, but to be truck drivers and work in dock, I mean, that's not what the hell the job of the National Guard is. We'll get this rolling, but that's absurd.
So there's oh my gosh. I'd heard this. I'm trying to remember which port it was, but they have local ordinances, one of these California ports, where you can only stack shipping containers too high.
I've heard that.
There's a few different California regulations that are contributing to this? And I'm just trying to look some of that up. So continue on.
Because I've gotten Walmart and others to say we're going to move stuff off of the port into our warehouses.
So, you're actually talking about having National Guardsmen or women driving trucks?
The answer is yes, if we can't move to increase the number of truckers, which we're in the process of doing.
Okay.
If we did it this moment, we're not. But the whole point is we've got to get the small business as well, because the big guys are in trouble. And a lot of the product that your mother makes, the things she does in her interior design building, the material she buys from larger outfits. I assume, I don't know that. But my whole point is small businesses need the help badly. Small businesses make up 60% of all the revenue coming from business out there.
I want to bring in Linda Harris. She's from Elk Ridge, Maryland. She's a software project manager, Democrat. Linda, what's your question?
Hey,
Let's
President
get to
Biden.
the next question.
My
This guy
middle
is
class
fumbling
family of
football.
4 lives on a
No,
pretty tight
he's
budget.
fumbling
My husband and
football.
I both work full time at well paying jobs, but we still struggle some months to make the ends meet. With rising gas prices and utility prices and grocery prices, we're feeling our discretionary income get squeezed and reduced. What plans does the administration have to help ease this kind of current crunch we're feeling?
Well, there's a number of things that have already been done. And it's hard, and people don't think about it. The American Rescue Plan has provided for an awful lot. The $1.9 billion we passed right after I got elected. So what you got is that $1,400 check in the mail. You got a lot of things that help ameliorate some of the concerns and costs. Because we knew what we were coming into. We knew we had inherited the wind, and things were going to get worse before they got better. But in terms of being able to have what my dad used to say, a little breathing room. Just a little. My dad busted his neck. He didn't have a good paying job. My dad was a well-read, high school educated guy who thought his greatest sin in the world was he didn't get to go to college. But my dad was one of those guys that worked like hell, come home for dinner, and then he'd go back and finish up work and close the shop. And the whole point of it was that all we want to give, all he'd talk about is that, Joey, all I need is just a little breathing room, a little space.
Let me ask you about that with just in terms of inflation, because you had told us at a town hall, I think it was in July, that this was just near-term inflation. The Wall Street Journal recently talked to like 67 financial experts who said that they saw high inflation going all the way or deep into 2022. Do you think it's going to last for a while?
I don't think so. I don't think it will last. Depending what we do, if we stay exactly where we are, yes.
They told me to say that.
If we don't make these investments, yes.
What about gas prices? Because
gas prices relate to a foreign policy initiative that is about something that goes beyond the cost of gas. And we're about $3.30 a gallon most places now, when it's was down in the single digits. I mean, single digit dollar plus.
Happened when he became president.
And that's because of the supply being withheld by OPEC. And so there's a lot of negotiation that is.
But here's the problem with Americans is many out there who are allowed to vote have a short memory. They won't even. They'll take what CNN or what the president says is at face value without realizing the guy's full of shit, and so is most of the people on CNN. And I mean, it's corporate news. So going back to our statement about corporatism, it's corporate news.
Well, it's funny because oil and gas right now is up in the 80s, which is they're making money. I mean, I worked in oil and gas for a long time.
I did as well.
And they make money when they're still making money when they are, barrels are like $30.
Mm-hmm.
It's not making a shit ton of money, but they're still in the green. I don't understand. It's like we were drilling. I mean, we probably had this massive, stockpile of oil, which I don't know why we don't tap into our own reserves. But they're so they hate oil. What they do is they hate American oil. Mm-hmm. OPEC oftentimes causes a lot of these crises with oil.
OPEC is a cartel, by the way. It's not just some
it's a Saudi Arab cartel on oil.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Democrats really love this, but they depend upon OPEC to supply America with oil. And that was what was on the news today. It was they're like, we're going to pressure OPEC to, basically flood the market with, gasoline to, drive prices down. It's like back in the 70s they pulled this shit.
Yep.
I mean, people were running on gas, and I mean, this isn't the first time we've been here with high gas. I mean, back in the early parts of the Iraq War, gas was really high.
Yep.
There's.
But here's something to consider. Imagine yourself the leader of any other country, and the president of the United States, the current one, comes to pressure you to do anything. I think the only response I could do is laugh.
They don't have to cave to you.
No, at this point, how can anybody take any of this seriously?
But then he's wanting to shut another pipeline down in the United States. I mean, there's definitely, they're to blame. All of a sudden, they take power. Mm-hmm. They start shutting all these oil pipelines down, and all of a sudden, your gas shoots through the roof.
I know back in Obama's administration, there was the Keystone Pipeline, and I know that's going off and on or whatever, but I know back then when it was being discussed about shutting that down, it was revealed that the only other way to get that oil from point A to point B without that pipeline is through rail. And a particular person named Warren Buffett had a big interest in the company that would provide that logistic that transportation.
Of course.
And so often there's a beneficiary of that policy that tends to donate a lot of money to these politicians that are writing these policies. And Republicans have their problems, sure, but the thing is, you have a party here who tells its base it's pro-environment and all these things, and they get their base to think that they're anti-corporate, and yet they're not.
Yet they're talking about making deals with the Saudis. OPEC, that's like a giant corporation of, Muslim power, or, Muslim oil. Anyway, we'll get going.
Yeah,
this is just God.
We'll be 40 minutes into this, and we'll still have.
There's a lot of Middle Eastern folks who want to talk to me. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I'm going to talk to them, but the point is, it's about gas production. There's things we can do in the meantime, though.
Do you think do you have a timeline for gas prices? And when do you think they may start coming down?
But he's not sure if he's going to talk to him. That to me says a lot. I mean, that's a arrogant, trashy move there.
Yeah.
Again, you can criticize Trump for a lot of things, and people don't realize we can't go to war with everyone. And I actually like that he was trying something different by meeting the North Korean president, because we hadn't done anything different since the Korean War. And they're still at a state of war. I think trying something new is important. And you got this jackwagon who's not going to talk. He may not even talk to the people in the Middle East.
Yet he's telling you, well, we're going to drive the oil price down by
convincing them to increase production. But
it's like, but I'm not going to talk to them.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
that's my guess is come on, we'll start to see gas prices come down as we get by and going into the into next year in 2022. I don't see anything that's going to happen in the meantime that's going to significantly reduce gas prices. But for example, for natural gas to heat your homes as winter's coming, there's a lot of what people don't realize. We put in billions of dollars in what they call LIHEAP. LIHEAP is the provision whereby you're able to get funding from the federal government based upon your need to heat your home, and it's subsidized in a significant way. And there's billions of dollars we have passed in the legislation I got passed in March of this year, because we anticipated that would be a problem as well. But the answer ultimately is, meaning the next 3 or 4 years, is investing in renewable energy. What I was able to do.
Why is that some type of electric heat? Or?
He was saying it was
He said natural gas, but I've never heard that.
Yeah,
before.
it's a program that you can sign up for to.
How does it fund? Like, how does it pipe into the house through natural gas?
Let me LIHEAP here. Let's see here. I'm trying to find out how low income home energy assistance program. It's not. All it is a program to subsidize your bill. So rather than getting the price of natural gas lower,
which is pretty damn low.
Yeah, but instead of just looking at and so one, don't let energy prices go up too much. Two, don't destroy the dollar. And then you don't need this low income home energy assistance program or LIHEAP.
Well, it's going to drive the price up.
Yeah, but what he is saying is the solution is to sign up for a program so that the government can pay you versus.
Which means the taxpayer.
Yeah.
The government doesn't have money.
No.
That's the thing that people often forget.
Yeah.
They don't have any money.
Such.
Yeah. No, by the way, I'm not being, I'm being literal when I say this. What I was able to do when I ran, and you remember, Anderson, because I was on your show a couple times, and the issue was whether or not I could ever get the labor union to support my environmental programs. And I went out and I went to the IBEW as well to the auto workers, and I laid out my plan. They fully embraced it. Why? Because now, and I spent time at General Motors and other companies, and I got General Motors. I didn't get them. General Motors decided after a long time spent talking to me, they were suing California because they had a higher standard, mileage standard.
Right.
They dropped the suit and agreed that they would be 50% electric vehicles by 2030. By 2030, and now you have all three major manufacturers saying the same thing. So what will happen is you're going to see a dramatic drop in what's going to happen in terms of gas prices as we go into the next 2 or 3 years, even if we're not able to break the monopoly price. They're keeping it up because anyway. So but I must tell you, I don't have a near-term answer. There's two things I could do. I could go in the petroleum reserve and take out and probably reduce the price of gas, maybe 18 cents or so a gallon. It's still going to be above $3. And one of the things that I refused to have happen because I didn't want anybody, I made a commitment. If you pass the stuff I'm talking about, not one single penny in tax would go against anybody making less than $400,000. And so if you notice, these highway bills are not paid for by gas tax. They're paid for by direct expenditures in other areas. So the average person doesn't have to pay more. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. There's a possibility to be able to bring it down. Depends on a little bit on Saudi Arabia and a few other things that are in the offing.
Let me take a quick break. We'll have more from President Joe Biden.
Everyone's paying that tax. And that's the thing that they don't tell you. I mean, yeah, if you raise taxes on businesses and you're going to increase the cost of products. If you're spending all this money,
Nejma Donner, a professor and social worker at the University of Maryland, Baltimore. She's an independent and mother of 2 young boys. We're going to be talking about COVID. Nejma, what's your question?
Thank you for taking my question, President. When will the vaccines for young children be ready, and how accessible will they be once released?
I believe, and I want to make it clear, unlike past administrations, science will dictate this. I'm not telling anyone, and but I do ask my COVID team what the expectations are. The expectations are to be ready in the near term, meaning weeks, not months and months. Okay, that's number one. Number two, there are over 800,000 sites right now that exist in America where you can go get a vaccine. And you're going to be able to do that with your children. Particularly, we're going to try to work it out to deal with child care centers, make it available there, as well as your pediatricians and the docs, and finding places where you can do it. Some places are talking about doing that, in churches on the weekend and that kind of thing. So there'll be plenty of places to be able to get the vaccine if and when it is approved. And it's likely to be approved. I've spent a lot of time with the team on these things. It's likely to be approved, and whether it's Moderna or whether it's Pfizer or whether it's J&J, it's going to be approved, and it'll be a much smaller dose, of basically the same dose, but a smaller dose. And they're doing a lot of tests on it right now. And those of you who have children or brothers or sisters who are between, who are in that age category above 12, get the vaccine for them. Get the vaccine. Get it now.
Let me ask you, Mr. President. Mr.
By the
President.
way, there's two famous guys in this audience here, I just noticed. Ben Cardin and Chris Van Hollen. And the mayor.
All these people.
Holy mackerel. This is a busman's holiday for you guys, having to come and hear me. But thank you.
Mr. President, let me ask you a follow about that. As many as 1 in 3 emergency responders in some cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, right here in Baltimore, are refusing to comply with city vaccine mandates. I'm wondering where you stand on that. Should police officers, emergency responders be mandated to get vaccines? And if not, should they be stay at home or let go?
Yes and yes. By the way, I waited until July to talk about mandating because I tried everything else possible. The mandates are working. All the stuff about people leaving and people, you have everyone for United Airlines, Spirit, all these airlines. We're not going to get
Southwest Airlines.
96, 97% of the people have gotten the vaccine. All the talk about it, all these folks who are going to leave the military if they're mandated. Not true. You got about a 90-some% vaccination rate. I mean, so the idea is that, look, the two things that concern me. One are those who just try to make this a political issue. Freedom. I have the freedom to kill you with my COVID. No, I mean, come on. Freedom.
Come on. Freedom.
Number one.
Why
Number two, the second one is that, the gross misinformation that's out there. Like what they're saying about my buddy Colin Powell, and he was my friend. He passed away. Colin Powell was vaccinated and he still died. Well, he knew he had serious underlying conditions, and it would be difficult. He clearly would have been gone earlier had he not gotten the vaccine, had he not gotten the shots. But my generic point is there's so much misinformation. You know what I find fascinating? I turn on Fox to find out how popular I am. But
how are you doing there?
I'm doing very well. I think I'm at 3% favorable, But all kidding aside, one of the things I find, do you realize they mandate vaccinations?
Well, nobody
At Fox
watches.
headquarters.
Yeah. I find that mildly fascinating.
You find that mildly fascinating.
Mildly fascinating.
I want to bring in
Can you pause for a second? This is fun.
Thaddeus Price
What would that number be as a percent?
That doesn't even register as a percent.
Yeah, this is 0.00229. Some more numbers. 0.0022. That's what happens when you take 755,201 against that. That's deaths of COVID against the 329 million total population of the United States. So we're going to throw people out of work for not agreeing with compulsory vaccination for a relatively new disease that kills 0.0022. Now, obviously, those are real deaths. And I know people that have had family die, and it's not cool. But you're talking about creating. Well, hell, in Austria right now, they're talking about actually creating a separate lockdown for the unvaccinated. We're not too far off from here. Based on the way they think about people who haven't gotten a vaccine, there are a lot of people out there that want unvaccinated to be treated like second-class citizens over a disease that's killed 750-something thousand out of a 329 million person population. With a degree of predictability when you look at like the overall health of the person and their age.
I thought I read today something about they found oh God, what was it that I read? Something that people with COVID that had some, oh God, what was it? Something real common had a better chance of fighting it or whatever.
Mhm.
God, I wish I could remember what it was. I just seen it today. I found it pretty interesting. I wish I could remember what it was.
No, if you think about it, just jump on your phone and look her up, because I mean, it's not to say that you shouldn't get vaccinated, but we also shouldn't be.
This is Thaddeus Price from Randallstown, Maryland. He's a program coordinator at Morgan State University.
Good evening, Mr. President. You received overwhelming support from the Black community. And rightfully so. But now many of us are disheartened as we watch a Congress
He said
fail
if he
to support
didn't vote
police
for him, you
reform.
weren't black, is what he said.
We watch our voting rights vanish before our very eyes.
Really not.
I don't know one
Mr.
place
President,
where
my question is, what will
can't
you
vote
do
in
over the
America
next
based
3
on-
years to
Yeah.
rectify
That's not how
these
it is.
atrocities,
This is a
secure
welfare
our
state. This is
democracy,
a
and
crime
ensure
show
that
or $5?
freedoms and liberties that all Americans should be entitled to?
So let's go over some of these things that they're talking about. Some of them are saying due to, well, they were basically saying, the ID card thing. Basically saying, they're not, people aren't smart enough to get an ID card.
Yeah.
And I would be totally fine with, like, hey, just give everybody an ID card and don't make them pay for it. That way, it's not that damn hard to get one.
No.
All you got to do is go to any tag agency. Literally, when I worked at Social Security, homeless people could figure out how to get an ID card.
Mm-hmm.
And these are people that don't have a home at all. And you're telling me that ethnicity or a group of people can't get an ID card? I find that
It's
to
just
be one of the most racist things I've ever heard, and it's really not that.
it's a bunch of political spin to keep us from having standards to keeping the vote secure, because there is a difference between mail-in voting and absentee voting. Mail-in voting is you don't ask for it, you just get the ballot. Well, property records are oftentimes way off. Not only that, but if the name on the actual property is different than who lives there because people rent or whatever, people have died
Or
or
move
or whatever. Or
oftentimes they don't even change the registration.
so for me, the way I see it is now anyone over the age of 18 can vote with some restrictions based on past criminal history, which I don't necessarily agree with, but whatever. Very few restrictions. And to me, if somebody can't get off their ass to go to a polling station within a allotted time frame, I don't really want them voting anyways. They need to be motivated to go vote. And if they think they should just be able to sit around and you can stay home and vote. Ask for a damn ballot. Just ask for it. Go if you're not willing to go online and do or call or mail in or do whatever the process is in your local area to get that absentee ballot. If you're not able to do those minimum tasks, I don't really care if you vote or not, because you clearly aren't motivated enough to find out how to do it.
Yeah, it's also kind of mind-boggling that, it's your one civic duty as a citizen is your job will let you off. I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
Every job they have to let you
Yes.
off to vote. It is against the law to not let you off work to vote. You're telling me you can't phone a friend or walk or take a bus or a cab or an Uber or a freaking scooter
Or apply for the absentee ballot before you're supposed to.
There's so many ways. They want to extend like these absentee ballot or these like mail-in ballots for like months. It's like, no.
There's no way to house and track that without. And again, that doesn't mean that funny business necessarily happened that would have thrown the last election one way or the other.
I'm not saying that at all.
But still, this idea that we shouldn't have a secure vote is ridiculous, especially when you got the what's his name, old Prince Harry and his wife. trying to get all involved in politics.
Well, it's just crazy to me. I mean, like, I've always just drove to the polling center, waited in line,
Yeah,
and voted.
yeah,
I get there are some times where these machines break or whatever, and that is bullshit. But they should have a secondary. If that thing doesn't work, like, here's a paper ballot.
yeah.
And to not have an ID card to vote is the dumbest shit ever. Like, I could literally be like, "Hey, I'm Trevor Wolf."
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Say I'm not?
Every major party, and we're going to use the Democratic Party here because they're the ones that resist this stuff. Every major Democratic Party function requires an ID. This is another thing that people need to realize, and anybody here that might vote as a Democrat, I mean, you're welcome to listen, all that good stuff. But consider this: it's a party that, when it comes down to the president, they talk about democracy and all these wonderful ideas, and they touch you in the heart. They never seem to be, and they want to also get rid of the Electoral College, but they never seem to justify why superdelegates are okay. And the Democratic Party uses superdelegates to where, if you're a special person, your vote counts more in the primaries than a normal citizen does. And that's how Joe Biden wins, is because all the elites and all the well-connected, powerful people in the Democratic Party chose their guy, and he's a giant turd. But because and I don't like Bernie Sanders, but Bernie Sanders got railroaded because of superdelegates.
Twice.
Yes. And it's voting.
It's just insane.
Show your damn ID. Get one on time.
First of all, you stated the proposition accurately, in my view. I did get overwhelming support from the African American community.
It's a corporate
Only
problem.
folks in Maryland understand Delaware is the 8th largest black population in America as a percent of population. It's been the source of my support. The only folks that help me more than black men are black women. And I tell you what my greatest regret is. My greatest regret is I had these three major pieces of legislation that are going to change the circumstances for working class folks and African Americans as well, that I've been busting my neck trying to pass. But what it's done is prevented me from getting deeply up to my ears, which I'm going to do once this is done, in dealing with police brutality, dealing with the whole notion of what are we going to do about voting rights. It's the greatest assault on voting rights in the history of the United States, for real, since the Civil War.
Yes, sir.
And, for example, when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee, I thought I had done something really important, and I was able to get passed and extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years and get everyone on that committee, including the Senator from South Carolina and others, to vote for it. I thought we had moved. The point I'm making is this: we're in a terrible place right now. And so when this gets done, and in the meantime, here's what I've done. I have the authority to deal with federal law enforcement. So federal law enforcement, we've issued mandates, no chokeholds, number one.
It's like,
make sure that we're going to be able to have no knock warrants, in a position where we're going to be able to see to it that we are able to go look at, and we're doing it in 4 cities right now, patterns of abuse and patterns of misconduct of police departments, making sure that we have access to police records in terms of what's happening. So there's a lot I've been able to do by executive order, in essence.
Let me ask on voting rights, if it is as important to you as you say. I think there's a lot of Democrats who look at the filibuster and would like to see it change, even if it's just on this one case.
We're not a democracy, jackass. There's no reason for that.
Can you explain a filibuster so everybody knows what it is?
If they don't have a certain threshold of votes, the vote can be held up by just delay tactics, and it's in the Senate. So I don't remember what the threshold is. They keep changing this. I'm gonna go ahead and go to my trusty phone here, because this has been a hot button issue.
Yeah, they've been attacking this for a while.
Yeah, and it's talking a bill to death or talking out a bill. That's some of the ways they look at it. It's obstruction. Let's see. Iran. Ooh, Iran. No, I want to look at. Oh, there we go. De los Estados Unidos. Senate permits a senator or senators to speak for as long as they wish on any topic they choose, unless 3/5. Yeah, it's still the threshold 3/5. So, yeah, basically you need 3/5 of the Senate to keep that from happening, keeping other senators from delaying and installing a bill. But people want to go to a simple majority, and that's dangerous. One way I've heard democracy described is, this is very graphic, I guess but you can look at democracies in times of where it's real contentious. Democracy is gang rape. 51% can take out 49%, and if you're looking at 49%, that's almost half. And a snapshot, 49, it might be 49%, but if another 2-3% get more facts, they may switch over to that side. But in democracy, and again, what they're trying to push is simple democracy. That's why they want to get rid of the Electoral College and things like that. It's not wise, because then you have no minority rights. And minorities aren't just ethnic minorities. It's minorities in any policy, any thought. Look at this town hall. They're all clapping. Every single one that stood up I think there may have been an independent that was on the last portion we viewed, but they've all been Democrats. What they're looking for is one party rule. And
it was a real town hall. You'd have hard questions coming both ways, not just softballs.
But trashing the filibuster, that what they want to be able to do is ram down anything they want without any debate. And we'd have a bigger spending bill that he'd be talking about. Right?
By the way, I think they make a very good point. Here's the deal. If in fact I get myself into, at this moment, the debate on the filibuster, I lose at least three votes right now to get what I have to get done on the economic side of the equation, the foreign policy side of the equation. So what I have said, you're shaking your head no, but let me tell you something, Jack, it's the truth. Number one. Number two, what I have proposed in the meantime is, it used to be the filibuster, the way it worked, and we have 10 times as many, more than that, times the filibuster has been used since 1978. It used to be you had to stand on the floor and exhaust everything you had, and when you gave up the floor and someone else sought the floor, they had to talk until they finished. You're only allowed to do it a second time. After that, it's over. You vote. Someone moved for the vote. I propose we bring that back now, immediately. But I also think we're going to have to move to the point where we fundamentally alter the filibuster. The idea that, for example, my Republican friends say that we're going to default on the national debt because they're going to filibuster that, and we need 10 Republicans to support us, is the most bizarre thing ever heard. I think you're going to see, if it gets pulled again, I think you're going to see an awful lot of Democrats being ready to say, not me, I'm not doing that again. We're going to end the filibuster. But it still is difficult to end the filibuster beyond that. That's another issue.
But are you saying once you get this current agenda passed on spending and social programs, that you would be open to fundamentally altering the filibuster or doing away with it?
Well, that remains to be seen. Exactly what that means in terms of fundamentally altering, whether or not we just end the filibuster straight up. There's certain things that are just sacred rights. One's a sacred obligation that we never going to renege on a debt. We're the only nation in the world. We have never, ever reneged on a single debt.
But when it comes to voting rights,
is equally as consequential.
When it comes to voting rights, just so I'm clear, though, you would entertain the notion of doing away with the filibuster on that one issue. Is that correct?
And maybe more.
and maybe other issues.
He's so confused.
He's got to
Damn it! Quit asking me all these hard questions.
Okay,
and
let's.
they're clapping.
Just a short time ago, the
what are
full
we
House
clapping
voted
for?
to
I don't
hold
know what else to do.
He's
to
got a
hold the
D
former
next to
Trump
his name.
ally Steve Bannon, current Trump ally as well, in criminal contempt of Congress. A week ago, you said the Department of Justice should prosecute those who defied subpoenas from the January 6th committee. Was that appropriate for you to weigh in on?
No, the way I said it was not appropriate. I said, they asked me, do I think that they should be prosecuted for denying for not showing up at the committee? And I said yes. Now when I made a commitment, one of the things I committed to do when I ran was reestablish the reputation and integrity of the Justice Department. It has become it was corrupted under the last administration. I should have chosen my words more wisely. I did not, have not, and will not pick up the phone, call the Attorney General, and tell him what he should or should not do in terms of who he should prosecute. And I think that anyone who does not respond to that kind of question from the
just
rated legitimate committee in the House of Representatives of the United States should be held accountable. So that's as much as I can say without coming to look like I'm telling. I have yet to talk to the Attorney General about anything.
The Attorney General is saying that they would make a decision on their own.
And they will. Guarantee.
You've decided not to exert executive privilege to the former president in the House's investigation of January 6th. Why?
Again, I'm leaving that to them to tell me what. It's not a blanket. I will not release the information. Yes, I'm asking them to take a look at what is legitimate, what would legitimately fall in a position that future president's authority would be compromised by that. And what is, I don't think there's much legitimacy in the claim. So that's being looked at right now.
We're going to take another quick break. We'll have more questions about it.
Hurry up and take a break. Give him a break so
How much time do you have? I want to bring in Megan Crawford from Towson, Maryland. She's a law student at the University of Baltimore and a Republican.
Oh, she's a Republican.
Throughout your campaign, you've criticized former President Trump for his treatment of illegal immigrants and the southern border. Given that it's nearly been a year into your campaign, why haven't you been to the southern border of our country? And why did your stance on allowing immigrants suddenly revert to Trump-era policies?
Well, they're legitimate questions. Number one, the Remain in Mexico policy, which I oppose, the court said I had to maintain it. So we're repealing it. That's one of the reasons why we haven't changed it. We have made a gigantic change. There were over 5,000 children in the custody of the Border Patrol. They're now 504. We are making more progress than you think. And we have a circumstance where one of the things that is going to bear fruit, I believe, is I put together a program. I was a senator and the vice president helping initiate it now, where we provide for funding to change the circumstances on the ground in the countries in Central America. For example, you're in a circumstance where, people don't just sit around their hand-hewn table and say, I got a great idea. Let's sell everything we have, give it to a coyote, let them take us across the border, drop us in the desert, place they don't want us. Won't that be fun? People do it because they're desperate. They're desperate. And what I've been trying to do, and I'm trying to do in this legislation as well, is get funding so we have funding for immigration officers to be able to hear cases immediately of whether or not they justify having asylum granted to them. We don't have that.
You have kept in place under Public Health Authority known as Title 42, which is a Trump-era policy which allows immediate or very quick return to people who have crossed over the border based on COVID protocols.
Yes. And that is, we've maintained that because of the extent of the continued extent of COVID in those countries from which people are coming. It's very, very high. And so we maintain the policy. We're not sending back children. We send back adults and we send back large families, but we don't send back children in that circumstance. So that's why I have a proposal to provide for over 1 billion doses of COVID vaccine
And
to
right now they're
the
talking
rest of the
about
world,
getting
including a
these
significant
separated
portion
families
to Latin and Central America.
$450,000.
Do you have plans to visit the
What's the
southern border?
maximum insurance?
I've been
policy
there
of
before, and I haven't.
This is
I mean, I
advertised
know
to
it
the
well. I guess I
That's
should go
insurance
down,
policy
but
by the SGLI.
but the whole point of it is I haven't had a whole hell of a lot of time to get down.
Yes,
I've been spending time
450.
going around looking at the $900 billion worth of damage done by
For a death.
hurricanes
Yeah,
and
you have-
floods
you have
and,
to fucking die
and
to
weather
get
and
that. Yeah,
traveling
they're gonna
around the world.
Separate,
But,
the government's going
I
to
plan on
separate
now. My
families,
wife Jill has been down. She's been
and
on
they're going
both
to
sides of the river.
pay
She's
them
seen the
almost
circumstances there.
$500,000.
She's looked into those
Max
places.
policy is-
You notice you're not seeing a lot of pictures
I
of
don't know what
kids
the max is.
lying
I
on
know
top
what
of one another
the-
with
most people don't
you know,
know.
with
Oh, 400,000.
you know, looks like tarps on
Just
top
sign
of them.
up.
We've been able to deal that. We've been able to significantly increase funding through the HHS, Health and Human Services, to provide shelter for these kids and people. But there's much more to be done, and I realize I think it's the thing that concerns me the most about being able to get control of it. Because I got to, number one, get enough funding to provide for immediate determination of whether or not someone that is in fact legitimately claiming a right to stay in the country because of legitimate fears, and it's purely for economic reasons to get in line, but not get in the country. So what we're doing is bringing a lot of folks are coming in and they're doing ankle bracelets instead of people being sent back, depending on whether or not their claim appears to be legitimate.
Let me ask you about two other issues in the news. In less than 2 weeks, Minneapolis voters are going to decide whether or not to replace the police department in Minneapolis with what they would call a public safety department. What do you think of that?
Well, it depends what they mean by that. Look, I grew up in a neighborhood.
They said the public safety department would have a more comprehensive public health approach to the delivery of functions of public safety and could include licensed police officers.
Well, I think you need police officers. I think we need police officers to protect us. I think they have to be under certain changed circumstances, but I think we have to provide for them more opportunity. I call for more money for police to go to community policing, as well as dealing with additional help for psychologists and others working with police departments.
You've never been a fan of defunding police.
No, I haven't. I've never supported, but I have been a fan of controlling police and making sure they're held accountable. They're two different issues. And one of the things, look, when we had community policing initially in the late 90s, violent crime dropped significantly. And the reason it did is because we had significant number of police. What I did, I eliminated the LEA funding, Law Enforcement Assistance Act, and I put in place the proposal that required community policing. What that meant was, if you were, it's going to take a second, but it's important. If you're, what that meant, if your city had authorized police force of 100 people, you could not take the money for community policing and fire 50 people and rehire 50. So now the federal government paying for that, and you didn't increase the number of police. You had to increase the number of police beyond your whatever. So I remember my son Bo was the chief law enforcement officer of the state of Delaware, the attorney general of the state of Delaware. And he had to do what I did. He'd go down the east side where you find the best basketball in the city. You know, every town has those places. And he'd sit on the bench with my son, my grandson Hunter, who's now 16, who was then 5. Sit on the bench, and he'd get those guys. And he'd walk over and he'd knock on the window of the police car, sit there, they're not getting out of the car. And said, get the hell out of the car, meet these folks. No, I'll give you one example. What we required initially was every community policeman, there were two assigned, there's assigning groups of two. They had to know the neighborhood. I remember getting a call, because you've been to Delaware, go down that road as you're heading down to the train station, Martin Luther King Boulevard. There's a woman who lived in one of those apartments on the second floor that sort of had an outward Victorian kind of, it was a 2-story place. And but the cops made sure she had their phone number. So when the drug deal was going down, she'd pick up the phone and call and say to that police officer with a cell phone that the drug deal is going down, knowing that she would never be fingered, knowing that she would never be the one told it happened. And so crime began to drop. They had to know the local liquor store. They had to know walk in and shake hands with the local minister. They had to know that's community policing.
Let me try to get in a couple other questions from our audience. Before we do, just another quick news question. New York City is removing a statue of Thomas Jefferson from its legislative chamber because of Jefferson's history as a slaveholder. Do you support that decision?
Well, I think that's up to the locality. Drug dealer because she never get fingered. Look, there's a lot of the drug dealers. There's a lot of people who have no social redeeming value historically, and there's others who have made serious mistakes in terms of what exists now in terms of what we should be talking about, but have done an awful lot. And so the very thing, for example, I just spoke at the Martin Luther King dedication, and I pointed out that we're right across from the Lincoln Memorial. Well, and you talked about and then the Jefferson Memorial. Is he still spinning? And what were we doing? I talked about how they said we're unique in all the world as a nation. We're the only nation founded on an idea. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. Undoubtedly, no nation's ever been founded on an idea. Have we ever lived up to it? No. But it's a pretty big idea that somebody wrote that down and got the rest of the country to agree to it. So it depends. It depends. And
let me bring in Glenn Niblo, a student at Loyola University, originally from Connecticut. He's a Republican. Glenn, welcome.
They backvoted all the Republicans.
China just tested a hypersonic missile. What will you do to keep up with them militarily, and can you vow to protect Taiwan?
Yes and yes. We are.
What will you do? Yes.
Militarily.
Yes and yes.
China, Russia, and the rest of the world knows we have the most powerful military in history of the world.
Let me pause this for a second.
Don't worry about whether they're going to be more powerful. But you do have to worry about is whether or not.
One of the problems, and this goes into the police thing, they talk about money, this, money, that, whatever, money, whatever. It's not always about money. Sometimes it's about having a set of figuratively speaking, a set of testicles and not being wimps. And a lot of police departments, probably most of them, don't have regular fitness standards.
Oh yeah.
They don't have to learn hand-to-hand combat. They don't have the tools that would give them the capability to defend themselves without drawing a gun. And then he's talking about and then there's also politically correct policies that mean you have to hire certain people and keep them employed versus giving them the boot when you find out they suck. And, he's talking about the most powerful military in the world. Well, we've slowly been gutting our military through, the equal opportunities departments within the various services.
Well, they've been politicizing the military when that is not what the military's for.
No.
They've been gutting our officer corps. Our officer corps is atrocious right now. There's really no true leadership in the military anymore.
And this spills over into the whole Afghanistan debacle. When you're staffing your upper level officer corps full of people who are seeking approval of politicians to the degree that they're not going to tell politicians what's actually going on, then you have this 20-year war that we honestly militarily won pretty quickly and could have continued that trend with a very small footprint had there just been a level of honesty and strong leadership. Our military is in disarray right now. And I'm not going to let somebody get by and try to tell us we're the best in the world, because right now,
I would debate that.
We have good technology that we don't know about, and I'm pretty certain about that. I think we have some tricks up our sleeve, but I'm really cynical.
Winning was never in the cards for the military during those wars. It was to make money for all of your contractor buddies.
Yep.
To sell weapons and fucking gear and all kinds of new toys.
Oh yeah.
there's no real strategy to win. It was just,
No.
let's just maintain. We trained their military to fight like us with air superiority. Then the first thing we do is take air superiority away from them and to say, hey, well, you got to fight the Taliban the way that they're going to fight you.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't trained you to fight like guerrilla fighters, we've taught you how to fight like American fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a debacle.
What happened in Afghanistan, and he's talking up our military. I'd rather somebody just be honest about it. I mean,
and he isn't even right with the COVID thing. I mean, a lot of special operations guys are leaving the military.
Yep.
Whole units.
The more you push, the less they're going to consider what you have to say, even if what you have to say is right.
I mean, and they dropped a freaking rocket or drone strike a freaking family. It had nothing to do with.
And then bragged about killing a terrorist.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
All right, so happy Veterans Day.
Yeah. We're almost there.
If they're going to engage in activities that will put them in a position where they may make a serious mistake. And so I've spoken and spent more time with Xi Jinping than any other world leader has.
Oh, we're well aware.
That's why you have, you hear people saying Biden wants to start a new Cold War with China. I don't want a Cold War with China. I just want to make China understand that we are not going to step back. We are not going to change any of our views.
So are you saying that the United States would come to Taiwan's defense if China attacked?
Yes, we have a commitment to do that.
All right, we're going to take another quick break. We got more questions from the audience. We'll be right back.
Well,
We are live with President Joe Biden here in the city of Baltimore. Just in the few minutes we have left, the country lost, and I know you lost somebody who you consider a close friend, General Colin Powell. What's something about him that people didn't know?
He had enormous integrity. They knew that. But he's one of the few serious players I've dealt with over these years. When he made a mistake, he acknowledges it. He said, I was wrong.
That's rare these days.
No, it's rare. It's been rare. It's rare in human nature. For someone in a powerful position to say they are wrong. They are wrong. I made a mistake. That's a hard thing to do. And I've had to do it about a half a dozen times lately. But all kidding aside. And the second thing about him is he had a lot of serious, he had real compassion. Well, I'll tell you afterwards, but because we only have a few minutes, he and I went out to the Secret Service racetrack. He had a brand new Corvette. His family bought it. His kids bought him. And I have a 67, 327, 350. And we raced. And the only reason I'm serious, it was on Jay Leno. Check it out, Jay Leno live. He's a hell of a guy.
Who won?
Well, I won only because he was worried I was going to crash into him. Because I don't have posse traction, so I was burning rubber the whole way out there, and I could see him going, whoa.
All right, so just my final question is, you famously, at the signing ceremony, I think it was for Obamacare, you famously leaned into the then president, and I'm not going to say a direct quote, but off mic, you said, this is a big effing deal. And I'm wondering, the Build Back Better plan, is it a bigger effing deal than that?
The Build Back Better plan that the World Economic Forum.
60 seconds. We got in the car to go over to
his mind.
The Department of Education after we did that.
Oh, I thought you were talking about drag racing still.
No. He got in the car and he was laughing like hell. I said, what's so damn funny? He told me. I whispered in his ear this way. I looked to see where it was. I'm going, this is a big deal. And I didn't realize the guy behind me was lip reading. You can see it. No, I'm serious. The answer is yes, this is bigger. No, it is bigger because, not because what he did wasn't enormous. He broke the ice, enormous. But part of what I have in here is we also increased access to the Affordable Care Act, and we reduced the price an average of $60 a month for anyone who's in the Affordable Care Act. Plus, on top of that, we have another $300 billion worth of health care in it. So I would say this is a bigger darn deal.
Lower the price by $60 a month, but increase inflation to more than make up for that. So we're still at a net loss. Good.
We want to thank our audience for being here and for their questions.
We made it.
We also
Thank
want to thank-
God. I was watching that clock thinking I've got to get rolling soon. I'm like, yeah, let's just finish it because I don't want to do part 3.
No, we're
I wanna-
definitely not. We're moving on to greener pastures.
I want to move on to hypersonic. I want to move on to Kyle Rittenhouse, which I'm going to
Yeah.
go ahead and look at the updates on that.
So, I mean, to conclude this, I mean, people, we've got to quit believing in this system of like government and that these people actually care about us. I mean, I'm a complete fan of. Maybe it's time to dismantle this whole thing and start over. I mean, it's so corrupted.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that voting more shitheads in is the route to go. I mean, people are like, okay, well, we'll do term limits. I actually heard a good argument for this. I was like, so now they'll just race to fuck us over.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's not just that. You got to kick the lobbyists out. You got to kick the money out of this.
Mhm.
You can't have lobbyists. That's
Well, and here's the other thing, and I'm going to go into some dark territory here. I think that was the second Under Siege movie, by the way, Dark Territory. We need to open up all the records that are being withheld through the, and we need to.
like the JFK files.
Oh yeah,
they actually just denied it again.
yeah.
It's like
National security concerns.
what in the hell happened? God, how many years is that? 50 now?
Yeah, it was 1963, man.
50, 60 years ago. It's like, what are you hiding from us that you don't want us to know about from 60 years ago? The only thing I can come up with is that they were in on it.
Man,
What would you not want us to know? National security.
You can look this up, and I don't care what anybody thinks about Tucker Carlson. It's not about him. He did an interview with RFK Jr. And RFK Jr., for all I can tell, still identifies as a Democrat. That's important. And
Isn't he dead?
no, RFK Jr. RFK's
RFK.
So Robert was killed in 69. But so JFK's nephew, in an interview, so this would have been after 2017 because the first round of Kennedy files were released in 2017. And I encourage everyone to,
which they redact everything.
Yeah.
It's like blah, 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 redacted.
I would still encourage you guys to go read as much as you can, and you can download these files. It is still fascinating. But RFK Jr., after the first round of files released, straight up says in an interview, after reviewing the files, I'm still not sure that the CIA wasn't in on it. Now, I don't know if that was like, I haven't exhaustively read them myself. Bob Baer, former CIA guy, I think he's an honest broker. Who knows? I think there are honest people in the CIA, but he partnered with History to do a review of them, and it's somewhere between the CIA was involved and what happened at 9/11 with people not wanting to share intelligence across the FBI CIA divide. And one of the things that came out was that Oswald was hanging out with KGB assassins, and he was being followed, but not followed closely enough, or intelligence was, I don't know. It was a giant mess, but regardless, we should know whether it was our government, another government,
or if it was all Oswald.
Yeah, or if it was all Oswald. Heck, it could have just been.
I just have a hard time believing that, some guy got up in a tower and shot 6 rounds in a bolt action.
Yep. Wait, you don't have faith in the Marine Corps marksmanship?
Oh, I do, but I just don't think that. I mean, the capabilities of the rifle.
Yeah, it's
the capabilities of the shooter, the accuracy.
You can only do so much with bolt action. I mean, that's just, there's limitations.
A moving target. There's so many
moving targets surrounded by people.
It's how much was he shooting? Was he shooting a whole lot? Because shooting skills are super perishable.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying he didn't take a shot.
Yeah.
But shots can come from all kinds of different angles.
Oh yeah.
Why the hell would it be national security if it was just some lunatic, guy that started, kills the president?
Well, actually,
you
bring up a good point. So what they're doing by denying the release is essentially saying some level of these conspiracy theories that have been out for the last 60 years
might have truth to it.
have truth to it. Because if it was just Oswald, would tell you.
Yeah, I mean, there's why. What could be national security from 1960 to today? We're not Bay of Pig. I mean, all these things like the Cuban Missile Crisis, all that stuff is long gone and done. I mean, what is it you're hiding?
Yeah.
Why is it when you release things, it's redacted? Like, I don't understand that.
No.
Like, it can only be fragile to the government itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, Edward Snowden on Joe Rogan brought up something interesting, and he said that he realized once he got into the nuts and bolts of how things are being run, that national security is no longer about you and me and the people watching this and their friends and all the other people in the country. It's not about the nation, it's about the state, and the state being the government. So the national security apparatus has been turned to protect perpetual power versus protect our ability to interact in a free society.
That doesn't shock me.
And you go, I mean, we'll go back to the 60s. I mean, you go watch Eisenhower you can find this on YouTube all day long, him giving his farewell address where he talks about the military industrial complex. And I mean, well, we're living in a shit show.
We're going to have to, we'll get back to you guys next week.
Yeah, get some tinfoil hats.
We'll find some, put our tinfoil hats on and we'll have some fun.
Maybe we should do something fun like
that would be fun.
Alien Disclosures too.
But we thank you guys for coming on to the Unscripted American.
Yeah.
And
thank you, veterans. All the veterans out there.
Yeah.
It's Veterans Day.
Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. Go get your damn Applebee's. I will not be joining you. I'll be at work. But we appreciate you all coming. And we are signing off. Later.
I almost said that's what she said.